Welcome everybody to another episode of Better Marketing. First of all, I must thank our sponsors Meta for supporting us. Really appreciate their help. What a delight to welcome young lady Nicola Mendelsohn. You're a lady, you're a CBE, and 12 years at Facebook now, 3 years running the global business practice and getting in between agencies and clients as always. But going all the way back, I think you and I first met, for age reasons, we'll say 15 years ago.
It's more like 25, David.
25 years ago, because you spent many a long year in agencies. I won't do your resume now, but it is astonishing what you've done. But I think where I wanted to start, last time I was president of the WFA, I remember coming to see you, I think it was 2018, and it was as brand safety was a very hot issue, and we were kind of frightened out on behalf of advertisers. We had a great conversation, but I think you were telling me to tone it down. Can you be a bit nicer? And I said, well, actually, I think the analogy is a good one. Facebook at the time, you're a teenager, you're growing up, you've got boundaries. But I saw yesterday, what you're doing for the industry, and I was blown away by how things have shifted. I mean, really incredible. So first of all, thank you, because you really helped then, and I think you're helping incredibly now. So can we start by talking a little bit about, I love the notion of your 7 hymn sheets, the things that are helping advertisers navigate the complexity of the world today. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so first of all, David, it is fantastic to be here with you, to see you. Nothing better than old friends.
Yeah.
And actually, that was a real pivotal moment when you came in and you spoke to me and spoke to us about the needs of the industry. And you described as we were a teenager back then. The commercial model of Meta was, well, Facebook as it was only a handful of years old. And so it was really important that we were listening in and leaning in to better understand what the needs of the industry are. And fast forward where we are today, you've invited us here to be able to come and speak. And that speaks volumes about, I think, where the relationship has got. Yeah, one of the things we're very proud of is something that you asked for back then, which is you just need to make it a bit simpler for everybody. There's a lot going on. Advertisers rightly have a lot of questions that they want answering. And so can you help us to parcel up the information, understand it better? And so that's what we did. And so to date, we have 7, as we're calling them, hymn sheets.
I love that.
Which go across a whole gamut of different areas, from child safety to frauds and scams, to data privacy, and a number of different areas. So we've been making them in tandem with you. You're pulling together what the needs are of the advertisers globally, and then we can work together to better address and understand those issues, and then put them out there.
It's fantastically helpful for all. And Sundry, we'll talk about AI a little bit later. But when I first met you, you were, I always say this is on the other side of the fence. You worked many a long time in agencies, fabulous career there as well. What did you learn in agencies that's helped you in Meta, and vice versa? If you could kind of go back, if you were back in an agency, what have you learned in Meta that you'll be putting in agency? How many questions is that?
It's about 28, but I think I know where you're going with it. I've got where you're going. Look, it was an absolute privilege to start my career and then spend 20 years in agencies like BBH and Grey, and then my own agency, Karmarama. Real privilege. I think those years taught me the power of the big idea, the importance of creativity, and the importance of effectiveness linked with creativity. So measurement at the heart of everything you do. You can't just have a lovely idea if it's not actually driving sales. But also the importance of relationships as well, because actually the truly great ideas, the big thinking, actually only comes when there's deep trust.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I've always held to be important in everything that I've always operated in. So those were really important ideas and themes that I've taken into Meta. The other thing on the agency side was also innovation, speed to adopt and to really embrace the new, which, given the last 30 years, what's happened from a technology perspective, also has stood me good stead coming to Meta. From the Meta perspective back, actually one of the things that I did when I was 6 months into working at Facebook was actually go back to Karmarama and go, here's the kind of 10 things I wish I'd have known when I was on this side of the fence. Right. And I think at the heart was a couple of things. One is to really think about failure and the embracement of failure, the idea of leaning into new ideas, testing things. And, we're dancing around not answering the AI question yet, but we're going to get there.
Yeah.
The speed of which new technologies are coming in. And I do see agencies kind of moving fast into this space. I think that's important. But those are probably some of the primary areas in kind of moving fast, embracing that speed of change, and then embracing the art of the possible.
That's fantastic. And I think we share a passion for creativity, but, as Cristina Diethandino talks about, creativity with precision,
Yes.
how you measure and track it. And then one day when my Instagram popped up, young Mr. Zuckerberg, earlier in the year, I realized as I watched it first, I was thinking the wrong thing, because then I watched it next time round, and this was the whole, fact checking and whether that's been good and moving to community notes. And you'll know, because you know me, my first thought was, this is not good, what are they doing? And my second thing was, no, that's smart, I get why that's happening. Can you tell us a bit about that? I know it's early stages, but thinking behind it, where that's going?
Yeah, so we announced, as you say, earlier in the year that we were going to move from the independent third-party fact-checking system that we had, which with all the best intentions that we went into it, we actually found that actually it wasn't scalable, it had bias. And so we were looking for a different way that, given the fact that we have over 3 billion people that are coming onto our platforms every single day, to find a way that actually we could scale. And so, yes, we literally have just started. We're having this conversation mid-March, literally this week, where we have been we created a wait list of people to sign up to be people that could help on the community notes, people that wanted to write the notes. So we already had 200,000 people sign up, so it's moving very quickly. And we're testing it, we're moving out slowly, we're starting just in the US with the intention of scaling it to other countries thereafter. But the idea here is that we're inviting people to make comment on a post that is out there, and we're looking for both sides. So it's not about if it's a very large group of people think something that can dominate. No, we're actually looking for both sides of the discussion so that people are better informed when they see a post up there. So that's the intention of what we're looking to do, and I'm really excited about it. There's been a lot of research about this that's proven the areas that I'm just talking about. But the other reason I'm excited is it actually gets Meta back to the promise that Mark always had, which was the embracement around free speech.
Yeah.
He talked about it in the earliest days. He gave a big speech back in 2019 in Georgetown about this. So that's also part of the direction of travel as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, given the backdrop we've got, the WFA, a tender 72 years old, was founded on the principle of commercial free speech, and that's what we've always done. We always will do.
And that's important. And I think also that's important for the advertisers out there is to know that as well as bringing this in, there's still things that are not changing. So what's not changing is that we still have our community standards. So those, if you like, are the policies and the rules about what is and isn't allowed on the platform. And often we take things down before it even goes up on the platform because we're using deep machine learning AI to be able to do that. But the other thing that we also have for the advertisers, and again, this has come from conversations over the years with the WFA and in the different countries as well, is actually advertisers want to have brand safety controls. They want to be able to have the ability, if they want, to say where or where not they want their content to appear next to. So we continue in that area. We continue to invest in there for the advertisers that want it.
Yeah, I remember, so I'm still on Facebook. I was instructed to join Facebook when it started, when I was at Vodafone. Obviously use WhatsApp extensively, and my favorite of your platforms is Instagram, actually, where I know people like me aren't usually on Instagram, because Instagram skews younger. So you seem to me to be covering all of the age groups, and there's this shift. And obviously with the arrival of Threads, you've pretty much got the world covered and the ages covered. How are they working together? What's the growth engine for you?
You've given me another 6 or 7 questions.
It's much more efficient.
So, well, first of all, I'm going to disagree with you.
Right.
Because actually we've put a lot of work into Facebook, and we actually announced probably last year now that actually we'd seen 8 consecutive quarters of young people on the platform coming on in larger numbers. So if we look at the US, there's now over 40 million young people that are coming onto to Facebook and enjoying it. And what's, I think, more interesting is how people are enjoying it. So you see young people coming on for things like groups, the interests and the passions that they have. They love Marketplace. Marketplace really gets you to that whole community aspect, and the whole buying and selling is something that people love, but also dating. That sometimes surprises people that actually Facebook has dating, and people are going off and finding love partners and all the rest of it. So that's a fantastic thing as well. Instagram is for people like you, David. I don't want you to feel like an imposter on there. I'm on Instagram. I love Instagram. Being able to follow the passions and connecting with culture in different ways. And then Threads, the newest of those platforms, now has 320 million users coming on every month, and it's growing at 1 million people every single day. So it's amazing to see. Advertisers might be interested to know that we've just started to test what advertising can look like. We're doing that in the US and Japan. So we're going to see how that's going. But I would definitely say to the brands out there that if you're not on Threads, get on there, because actually 3 out of 4 people on Threads are already following a business. So you kind of want to get up and running as to how that feels and how you can engage with it.
I should also say, by the way, in interest, other platforms are available. Fabulous though yours are. And let's just touch on dinner last night. I won't say who, but there was a lady at our table that actually bought a house in Tuscany on Instagram. I mean, so I was listening to that conversation. Oh my word, how did that work? And the whole process. Tell us how transactions are changing, because obviously your data can help massively, and still dancing around AI is coming next.
I might get into it, AI a little bit on this one.
Maybe let's talk about the impact AI is having on making data work for us, the consumer, because it's that way around.
Yeah, okay. So that particular story came about because somebody had sent her, I think on WhatsApp, or it could have been Instagram Direct, a link to say, isn't this fun that you can buy castles and crazy things like that in Europe for not very much money. They're derelict and you have to do them up. So she went down looking at that one, and then started to get retargeted with, actually, would you like to consider buying a place in the sun? And so it went on, and indeed she did. Now, what's at the heart of that, and I think is part of the secret sauce of Instagram, is the whole discovery. Lots of brands, lots of people are actually finding things they didn't know they were going to like as part of the discovery engine. My quick favorite, best one of those, personally, is my husband collects whiskey, and Instagram served me up an ad for whiskey-flavored toothpicks, which was a cheap present. It was like $25 or something. But when I gave it to him, he just thought that was the best present ever. It's like, how did you think of that? And I could have sat there smugly, but I just said, actually, it was Instagram. It was almost the day job doing it. But at the heart of that, actually, it is AI. It's the powerful discovery engine that is actually socializing and giving people content that they love and adore and sometimes didn't know they were going to love and adore. And that's Reels. We're seeing so much of that being driven by short-form content, by Reels. Billions and billions of Reels now, over 4 billion Reels a day being shared by people. In that example, back to Tuscany, have you seen this? Isn't this amazing? Ended up selling.
Which is incredible. I loved it.
The ROAS on that is pretty good, I have to say. But so in terms of AI, which was really the broader question here, AI and Meta have been kind of bedfellows forever, back to surfacing the right content for people, but also actually taking bad content off the platform, things that we don't want on there, is actually also being driven by AI. But for the advertisers out there, what are we doing with it? Well, this is where it gets incredibly exciting. So for the last few years, we've been developing out a whole suite of products called the Advantage Suite. And we're seeing now that advertisers, when they switch it on for the first time, are seeing an increase of about 20% return on ad spend. So it's really significant. It's much more productive. It's much more efficient. And we recently launched, just at the back end of last year, Andromeda, which allows us to go, machine learning system that we've partnered with NVIDIA on, which actually allows us to create even greater personalization at scale, which is fantastic for making sure that when you're placing that bid in the auction, which all happens almost instantaneously, you're reaching the best people in the most productive and efficient way. So that's on the performance side. Then when you think about the generative AI side, I mean, this is really exciting, and the things that you can do here now, again, relatively new, but we're already seeing 4 million advertisers that are utilizing and taking up the tools there. And again, seeing about an 8% increase in the conversions as a result. So very excited with all the things. And I've not even mentioned agents yet, but we can get onto that.
Well, I loved your use case for agents, which we'll come on to, but some of the data you were talking about was vaguely frightening, and this is in the office space where men are using AI in all sorts of ways and women aren't, which is, what's that about? I mean, as you looked into that, because we should make sure everybody's using the tech to help everybody.
Yeah, look, this is a really important one. So we can all see the incredible advancements that AI is giving to us in our personal lives and in our business lives. But we pulled out some recent research that said that on average, women in business spaces are using it on average about 20% less than men. I mean, I am horrified by that.
Yeah.
What I'm more horrified about is the qualitative research that goes alongside it, going, why? Why is this the case? When you know why this is good, why it can help you. And the answer is, we're sort of calling it the good girl thing, where women feel that it's sort of cheating if you don't put the blood and the sweat and the tears into doing it yourself. And the problem with this is, therefore, that we then start to train the AIs on what the needs of businessmen are versus business women. And that can have implications.
Yeah.
So the ask is, if there's any women out there that are not using it, and we've seen it here this week when we were asking in the room who's using it, not everybody is already putting their hands up. And when you ask people, who's using it more than 5 times a day, only about 1/8 of the room actually said it was them. So I think there's an impetus on us all as humans, as individuals, and as business leaders in the field of marketing, to make sure that we're getting out there, that we're utilizing it as much as possible, because we will get better, and it will get better the more that we use it.
Yeah, it's obviously the theme of the week, the talk about AI, and with some people being reluctant, others embracing the usual thing. But the first speaker today was quoting Mr. Zuckerberg, talking about speed being the new strategy. And obviously tech enabling everything is coming so fast that it's difficult to get your mind around sometimes. But I find it incredibly useful. But when you were talking, because this is a very personal story, and I particularly liked it, because obviously as Agent arrives, tell us about that, and if you would share, if you don't mind sharing your story, because I was listening, I was blown away by it.
I don't know which story
this is your granddaughter, or grandson, sorry.
Yeah. So on the way, the grandson on the way. So so I'm going to have a grandson, please God, in a few weeks' time. So that's all very exciting. But in the same way that every business has a website, every business has an email, every business will have an agent going forwards. Actually, before we get to agents, and we're in Europe today, and it's a momentous day for us as a company, because Meta AI is launching today in Europe. So that's incredibly exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It is 16 months after rest of world, and that speaks to some of the regulatory challenges that I think we see in Europe, and we hear very loudly back from European advertisers, European business leaders of the challenge that is. But yes, we have Meta AI. It already has 700 million people using it. We are excited to kind of hit the race to get to be the first assistant that will reach 1 billion people using it at some point later this year. So we look forward to that moment and hope that Meta's best placed to get there. But people are utilizing AI in all sorts of ways, and we've been planning. My daughter is having a baby, a little boy. And so all different aspects around it, we've been asking the AI about giving us advice, from health issues to fun things around what the nursery should look like to, she had a baby shower. So from ideas for the games to actually the speeches. The AI, the Meta AI, is just helping on every single aspect of the way. So yeah, I would encourage everyone to use it.
And are you using it every day?
Oh, that's all the examples I just gave you.
Incredible.
That was just on the personal side, but yes, on the business side, absolutely. I'm using it front and center. We've put it at the top of all of our apps, so it's at the top of Facebook and Instagram. You can, WhatsApp. You can be just using it simultaneously in between. Everything from proofing, emails, idea generation, information about what's David up to at the moment. So yes, lots of different things.
That's incredible. And just going back a little bit, because regulation is uneven around the world, to say it like that, and I know you face particular challenges in Europe. I mean, how do you deal with that? And great to hear you launched, but the 16-month delay was presumably in this very city. You'll have been talking to lots of people.
So yeah, first off, it's important to say that of course we're going to comply with regulators anywhere in the world, and we do, and so we do have certain things in different jurisdictions. That's important. But what's clear is that the innovation where we started this conversation is moving at breakneck speed. People are embracing it, and I've never quite seen the volume from coming out of business leaders, starting at the beginning of the year and before. in Davos and of people just venting frustration about the fact that they can't use the tools that the rest of the world is using, and how that's pulling back the European businesses and actually the people as well, not being able to do things. So much so there was a letter written of 100 business leaders in November actually expressing their frustration and putting the facts there. When you look at where the economies of Europe and America have gone over the last 50 years, and where the new businesses that have been created, Europe hasn't created a single tech business over 100 billion. The US has got $6 trillion business market caps now in that same period. And so when you look at kind of where that delta is, when you can look at where the startup kind of economy is coming from, we're in this next great wave again where on top of the large language models, on AI, the whole new application area is kind of being developed. So I can see that frustration. But look, we're happy that we've got it launched now. And, I think it's an ongoing conversation here.
Well, as I told you, my favourite word has always been serendipity, but the older I get, the more so. So wonderful that you're launching today and we can celebrate that. But can I ask you to talk about these? Because I was quite disappointed, must be said. Last night at the dinner we were at, under a napkin around each table was the gift that could get you this pair of glasses. Perhaps you could slide them on and tell us what they are.
Yes, so
I was astonished.
It was a bit of fun, and you were a bit disappointed. But these are the Ray-Ban.
By the way, I'm not asking for any.
No, I'm not giving you any.
I'll buy some later.
They're available in all good stores. So these are Ray-Ban Matters. These are our smart glasses, AI at the heart. And so now in Europe we will, be able to get to launch them. But I mean, you can see them. They weigh the same as pretty much a normal pair of glasses. It's a collaboration that we have with Luxottica. And in it, you're able to do things from here to take photographs. Has a privacy setting where when you take a photo or a video, the light comes on. You can listen to music, you can make phone calls. But where it gets really fun is with the AI that is embedded in. And so I was thinking about it as I was driving up here, and we're at the place at the Belgium Auditorium, Brussels Auditorium, and the National Monument. Straight away in your head, you're going, well, I want to know what it is. Would have been able to put my glasses on and go, hey, Meta. Actually, I'm not going to do it because it's going to start telling me the answers. Hey, Meta, tell me about the auditorium. What's the history? Tell me about. And so through voice, I'm actually able to start having that conversation. Other things that it can do that, we're in a restaurant, the menu is in French or Spanish. I say, hey, Meta, what's on the menu? And it can translate and tell me what it is in English. And then what I love is the simultaneous translation that, if you're speaking French and I'm in English, we don't understand each other. I can hear simultaneously what you're saying. But if that's not cool enough, this is just the kind of precursor to where the technology is going to get to. And so we've been demonstrating Orion. Orion is a prototype that has been 10 years in the making, which actually has the ability to be able to actually feel like you have screens in front of you. So you can still see me eye to eye. But that takes us into a whole new sphere of where the AI will be able to take us and kind of blending the worlds, the mixed reality worlds together. So that one you can't get yet, but
fantastic.
It's pretty extraordinary what it can and will do. And these people always ask, well, what about if I can't see? You can have prescription lenses put in. So my mum's got them. She absolutely loves them. And actually my dad, who is a little hard of hearing, hears better through the way in which the sound comes into the ear.
So a lovely story of technology in service of people, which is the right way around. I think, as some of this started and people were possibly over enthusiastic, and I think we were chasing tech and forgetting about humanity. But what is wonderful about this conversation, apart from seeing you again and listening to you, is to see what you're doing to put people at the heart of everything you do. And actually, before I ask you the very last question, one of the things I think we also agreed to disagree on back in 2018 was metrics and were you actually delivering for effectiveness, which clearly, given the economic circumstances, is an obsession of every advertiser. And also, I think things have moved on. So tell us about effectiveness.
Well, actually, we've always been obsessed with effectiveness, where the disagreement was on how you measure.
Yeah.
And so it starts with, the improvements that we continue to make to the products that we're delivering, because we want to be the best place for any advertiser to spend their dollar, their rupee, their euro, their pound with us. And so by the fact that we're spending, over $60 billion this year in CapEx largely for AI, the reason that we can keep in improving the ROAS actually is part of the measurement and the effectiveness. That's the first part. But I think the elixir for advertisers, for as long as we've both been in the industry / forever, I think we can say, is, how does cross-media measurement work? How does platform A versus platform B versus actually all come together? And so that's why we're incredibly proud of the work that, the WFA is leading with Halo, and that we're proud to be a part of that. But actually it takes the advertisers out there to actually work with us in these early days to make sure signing up so that we can flush more water through the pipes, so that we can start to understand and pick up signals, not just us, but all the other platforms and media businesses that are involved in it.
Yeah, and if I use this week as a barometer, the energy, the optimism, the collaboration is growing, and actually to see how advertisers and platforms are working together is a total shift from those many years ago as they feel. But what an absolute delight to talk to you. My final question is always, what should CMOs have at the top of their agenda?
Ooh, apart from all the things we've already talked about, I would say we haven't talked about messaging.
Oh, sorry.
So that's it. Messaging needs to be at the top of everybody's platform, of CMOs' mindsets. Why? Because we're seeing what consumers are doing. Consumers today are sending between over 600 million messages a day between people and businesses. So this is already an established way of communicating, of doing commerce, and especially when you go to Latin America, where you go to parts of Asia, and actually increasingly Europe as well, we're seeing that the interactivity on WhatsApp is truly extraordinary. So you'll see us really innovating fast and hard in this area. So you can already go from Facebook and Instagram into WhatsApp, into the messaging platforms with Click to, which is a market. You can put a marketing message in. But we're doing now more and more on the paid utility and authentication side of things as well. So I think this is an extraordinary area. And why it's really important is we touched on agents. Where are agents going to live? Where are brands going to have those conversations with agents? We actually think it's going to be on the messaging platform. So it will be on WhatsApp. And we're seeing that already. And I mean, the returns and the reduction is extraordinary in terms of the performance that it's giving to the businesses. We did one in Manila, and they saw a 20% increase in their customer service satisfaction, speed, 24 hours 7, and that was with a smaller business. So yes, messaging is the message.
All right, well listen, as I say, what a pleasure. Slightly surreal to now thank Meta for sponsoring our podcast.
We're honoured to.
But it's been a real delight. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Gorgeous to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Another fantastic conversation. And again, thank you to Meta for their support, and particularly excited that what they're going to help us do next is get better at using the back catalogue, long form, short form, so that you can continue to learn from all the greats of marketing all around the world, which is, after all, one of the key purposes of WFA. See you again very soon.